These captions are everywhere. People call them Devin Jatho captions. They're viral on Instagram and everyone tries to copy them, but almost no one gets them right. Today, on Simple Editing, we'll show you 2 ways to create captions. One paid method, that's basically a one-to-one replica, and one free method that gets you very close. And at the end, I will show you how to save it as a preset. Before we head into the tutorial, I want to shout out to Devin's editor for revealing this, so you should go check him out on Instagram. The link will be down below. So before we begin, we need to create the captions. Start by getting into Premiere Pro and getting our footage on the timeline. And I already prepared the footage. As you see, I have a clip of Devin here. And what we want to do is to select our clip, go into the text, go into transcribe. Once we have transcribed our clip, we then can go to captions, create captions from transcript, preferences, and you want to set the maximum length of characters to 10, minimum duration in seconds to 1.2 seconds, gap between captions, keep it to 0 frames, lines, single, then create captions. Now Premiere will generate the captions for us, we can see here. Then we want to go to properties panel and we want to change the font to the font that Devin uses, which is Tactic Sans, bold, and I will link the font down below. We want to make it all caps and we want to center it and we want to scale it up. Now the trick is you want to get the captions to After Effects. And we do that by going to the graphic and titles, and then we're going to upgrade caption to graphic. So now our captions become a graphic layer. Now if we highlight all our captions, and for the sake of this tutorial I'm going to highlight the first few captions, then we're going to right click and we're going to replace with After Effects composition. This will open up After Effects, put our captions in there as well, so we can edit it. So once we are in After Effects, we're going to highlight our captions and we're going to use a plugin to basically decompose, because all of our captions has been pre-composed into a layer. We're going to layer and now pre-compose. Here are the settings. Press OK. There we go. Now we have captions as a text layer. Now the plugin to do this will be down below. Now let's start with the paid method. So for the paid method, you're going to need 2 plugins, and these 2 plugins recreate the style almost perfectly. The plugin are called Deep Glow and Studio Shadow 3. I will link every plugin down below in the description so that you can check it out. So let me rename this to paid, so you know it's a paid one. So what we are going to do, we're going to start by adding a gradient ramp on our text layer. Then we're going to add our Deep Glow, Studio 3. So these 4 effects are what make these captions. Now let's go for the settings. If you go into our gradient ramp, set our point in the top of the text and in the bottom of our text. The gradient ramp is basically our color of the text, so we can change it, the top color to be blue and the bottom color to be something more darker. Now you can see we are already getting close, but now we need to reduce our exposure on Deep Glow to something like 0.25 and the radius to something like 250. Now at our shadow settings, which is what makes these captions like pop and stand out. So if you have the plugin, you're going to set the light direction to 180. You're going to set the renderer to standard, light radius to 79, shadow length to 41. Then you're going to the opacity and color and you're going to set the opacity start at 10%, the opacity end at 0%, and you're going to keep the fill influence 100%. This is how you create the shadow. If you make it transparent, we can see pops like this. Now the next thing that we're going to do is setting up the light sweep. So we want to keep the light sweep in the middle of our text. Now for our light sweep, we want to increase the width to something like 129. You keep the sweep intensity as it is. You're going to decrease the edge intensity to something like 31, and you're going to decrease the edge thickness to something like 2.5. Now you can see it looks like this. You see the shadow is popping out. Because we need to change the order, we need to have the Studio Shadow above our Deep Glow, otherwise it's going to be messed up. So we drag it above Deep Glow, same with the light sweep, and then we get something like this, which is basically what Devin Jatho uses. It looks super clean, super professional. Now let me show you the free way to creating these captions. Of course it will not be 100 like this, because these captions can only be achieved with these paid plugins, but I can show you a free way that gets really close if you don't have the money to buy these plugins. So if we move our paid caption up here, so we can see it as a reference. If we duplicate our layer here, I'm going to call it free, so you can see how close we can get. Now if I remove all of these effects, we're going to create the free caption. For the free way, we're going to start by 4 color gradient ramp, and we're going to choose our color, first color. For the second color, we're going to choose the same color, and for the last 2 colors, we are going to go with something more white. Now for the positions of our colors, we're going to have 2 colors on the bottom like this, one on the right and the last point on the left. So we get a gradient like this. So for our free method, we're not going to use the effects to create it, but we're going to use something called layer styles. So if we choose our layer styles, and add outer glow, then if we go into our outer glow, we change the blend mode from screen to normal. We change our color to white. Then we're going to increase our size by a bit. And then we're going to change our opacity to 25%. We can actually increase our size by a lot. It's going to give this glow effect. Now, if we go into our text layer again, go into layer styles and add a drop shadow. Under a drop shadow, we're going to increase the size. The last one is going to be layer styles, inner shadow. And in our inner shadow, we're going to change the blend mode to normal. The color set to white. And we're going to change the angle to 90 degrees. I'm going to increase our choke to 75%. We're going to set the distance to 1. And our size to 2. Now for this sake, we're going to decrease the choke to around 70%. And now we can move on to adding our effects. For the effects on the freeway, we're going to add a glow, and make sure to put the glow at the top. We're going to add a drop shadow, and we're going to add a CC light sweep as well. Now let's go through the settings of each of our effects. Now for our glow settings, we're going to set a glow threshold to 60. We're going to set a glow radius to something like 3. Then we're going to add our light sweep, just like we did before, in the middle. Increase the width, decrease the sweep intensity, decrease the edge intensity till we get something that we are satisfied with. Now for the last piece, we're going to add a drop shadow. Of course, remember to put our light sweep above our glow. Now for the opacity, we're going to put it at 100%. Increase the distance by 1, and then we're going to play with the softness. I think at 2 would be good. Just play around with these settings until you get something that you are happy with. So the distance 5, softness 2, opacity 100%, and then you get something like this. The thing is, you can't really recreate the deep glow. The deep glow is what sells the effect on the paid one. But if you want to go with the free method, you can get something like this. It gets you really close. Now you can save these as a preset, so you don't have to apply all these effects over and over again. We go into our paid one, we select all of our effects. We can then go into animation and save animation preset. We're going to name it. Then if we save it, it's going to take a while. We can then go into our caption. We can search our preset. Then we can just drag and drop it. And just like that, we have our preset. And you can do the same thing with the free method. Just save it as a preset and drag and drop it, and so you don't need to spend so much time finding the effects and setting the effects up. You can just drag and drop it. So once you build the caption style, you don't want to redo this every time. Save it as a preset, then you can apply the same captions to any video with one click, and you get the same look every time. Then you can go in the gradient ramp. You can change the color if you want another color. That's up to your preferences. So save this if you want captions that actually look right, and follow for more simple editing tips.